Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today we got an NFL team preview. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today, one more thing I say. His nickname on 100 Yards of Football, we call him the Legend. 12 years in the National Football League with the Atlanta Falcons. First-round draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons in the 1981 draft. 25th selection overall. Two-time All-American at Florida State University, my man Bobby Butler. So if y'all like the video today, please come in and share it as we're going to break down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brother Butler, what do you like about the team from the NFC South?
Well, what is it not to like about them, Vincent? I mean, they're building a team. They're building a team. They got a great head coach in Bruce Arians. And I tell you, they got the GOAT, Tom Brady, down in the Bay Area. And the GOAT is 43 years old, man. And it's amazing. This guy has got something to prove at 43. And what does he have to prove? I mean, he's got 6 Super Bowl rings. What does he have to prove? That he can win outside the Patriot organization. That's what he's got to prove. A lot of people say his skills are diminishing with the way he performed last year. But let's be honest about that, Vincent. He didn't have the skill players around him like he had in the past, right? And so with that being said, you got to assume that things are going to go a little backwards on him, right? So he's got something to prove. He's in a new location. He's on the beach. He's in the sunshine. And I can see him right now with a smile on his face because I smile every time I get to the beach, right? So he's still always going to be a great decision maker with the football. Even though at 43, he's not going to have the same skills he had 5 years ago. We know this, right? He's 43. But smarts and accuracy can put him back at the top because he's got the IQ and he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks because he understands the passing game. So he's going to come back in a big way this year because when we talk about this offense, we're going to see why. Number one, the running back room. Let's talk about the running backs right away. Ronald Jones took a step forward last year in the backfield for them. He can rush the football. They can handle the football. But what he doesn't do well, he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield well, Vincent. But they drafted in the 3rd round Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt. And Keyshawn Vaughn can catch the ball. He's a dual threat running back. But they got one of the best playmakers in NFL history in the backfield. They got LaShawn McCoy, who I believe still got a little juice left, just as long as he's not carrying the ball 25 times a game. So they got a good running back room with playmakers in the backfield that can make it happen. Now, the wide receiver room. This is incredible. Now, wide receivers, you hear me say this all the time. They're a dime a dozen, right? You can get a wide receiver anywhere. But these guys, they got 2 guys in this wide receiver room that is special. And I'm going to explain to you why they're special. Chris Godwin posted the 2nd highest receiving grade in the league last year. That means only one guy was in front of him last year, Chris Godwin. And then Mike Evans, who's a monster outside, finished in 2019 with the 8th best receiver grading in the whole league last year. Now, they had a guy who stepped up last year, Brashard Perriman. He's left and he's gone to the New York Jets. They need to establish a 3rd wide receiver. But let's just hold that thought about this 3rd wide receiver just for a second, right? Because in their tight end room, they've got one of the best 1-2 punches last year, all right, in O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. Those guys played well together last year and made a good tandem down in Tampa Bay. But let's not forget who else came to the city of Tampa this offseason. Y'all remember this guy? I think he was a WWE or one of them wrestlers, right? He retired a couple years ago. Oh, that guy. Ron Grongoski has joined the GOAT in Tampa. Now, I want you to remember his game. They used to put him at tight end. He ran routes from that position. They would put him in the slot. He ran routes from that position. They would even put Grongoski out wide like a receiver, and you couldn't stop him. So guess what, guys? That sounds like a third wide receiver to me with some size that's going to be very difficult for anybody to handle. So I like what they have in their receiver room collectively. That's one of the best in the league right now. Their offensive line, though, let's talk about them. They improved up front last year. They're going in the right direction. Donovan Smith, left tackle Donovan Smith, improved his grade in all 5 years he's been in the league. So every year he's grading out higher and higher. That sounds like he's developing into something. Right tackle, rookie, Tristan Worth, we talked about him being the most athletic tackle or lineman, period, in the NFL draft this season, right? So he's coming in to replace DeMar Dotson, who had a great 10-year career down there in Tampa. They're not going to miss a beat. Then you got Ali Marpet. You know, he's been consistent his 5 years in the league. They're growing. They're developing chemistry. And Ryan Jensen, ladies and gentlemen, at center, ranked third among centers in the whole league last year. So it sound like they can protect the goat up front. Sound like they got somebody to carry the mail. They got somebody that can throw two out of the backfield. And their wide receiver room is off the charts. So I'm looking for Mr. Tom Brady to do it at a high level next year, Vincent, this season, Vincent. It's going to be off the chain. Now, from a defensive perspective, this defense is on the rise. This defense is on the rise. All right, let's look at their up front. Their 2 D tackles. Vita Vea. He's a disruptive defensive lineman. Let's look at his sidekick, the other D tackle. And Ndamukong Suh. He's a force to be reckoned with. So you take those 2 guys. I don't see any offensive lineman getting to that linebacker court, Vincent. I don't see him. And these 2 guys are stud interior defensive linemen. You need dogs like this in the game. And then when you're talking about out wide, the defensive ends, Shaquille Barrett is a very good pass rusher. I think he had about 10, 11 sacks, something like that last year. And then Jason Pierre-Paul. What more can I say? He can flat out get it. So you got those 2 guys on the edge. You got those 2 monsters in the middle. And then the linebackers are special, right? Lavon David has graded out higher, listen at this now, in the past 3 years than every linebacker in the league except these 2. Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner. They're the only 2 guys that's graded out ahead of him in the past 3 years. So that's telling me this guy's a dude. He's a dude, right? And then with him, you got Devin White. He's an explosive athlete with 4.4 speed. Hey, man, linebackers in the game today are changing, Vincent. You know, with these open offenses, you know, where they're throwing the ball, these guys got to play in space. These guys are very athletic without losing that strength and that endurability and that power to plug holes. It's a new day, right? But the biggest investment that they've been making over the last 3 years has been their secondary. Now, let me tell you something, guys. They have spent some time at the University of Auburn the past 3 years, and they have drafted high these 2 guys right here, Jamal Dean and Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis, y'all, is from the 305. Jamal Dean is from Cocoa Beach, Florida. But they both went to Auburn. They both played together at Auburn. Now they're in Tampa Bay together. They're gonna be a dynamic duo at corner for Tampa Bay. And then also you got Sean Murphy at corner. They drafted him in the 3rd round. So you got 2 corners and you got a slot guy to play nickel. That's gonna be very special with these high picks. And then safeties, you got Mike Edwards. He played solid in 2019. But I want you to watch out for this guy right here. He was drafted this year in the second round. When you look at him, you don't think much. He kind of like me and AC was coming out. He's so small. This guy may be about 5'9" in stature, but he was drafted in the second round out of University of Minnesota. His name is Antoine Winfield Jr. Y'all should know his daddy. His dad was an all-pro in the league, right? This guy is a player. He is a playmaker, and he's a decision maker. And he's going to be at that free safety spot in the secondary wreaking havoc. So, Vincent, Tampa Bay is on the rise. I can't wait to get to the season. I hope we can start this weekend. You know why? You know why? Because this NFC South, the NFC South is off the charts, man. And it's going to be interesting to see how the hats lay in this division with the New Orleans Saints, with my very own the Atlanta Falcons, and with Tampa Bay. It's going to be quite intriguing. The NFC South is a strong division, y'all. I think the Saints still will be the favorite out of the division. But like I told you when I started this, the GOAT has got something to prove. And I know one thing about him. Mr. Tom Brady can lead a group of guys to the promised land. And he don't want to do nothing more in Tampa Bay but lead this group to the promised land.
Well said, Brother Butler. Well said. You know something, me and you about the same age, right, Bobby?
Right.
You're a year older than me. I'm not going to disclose our age. But I remember when I think of Tom Brady when he signed with Tampa Bay. I think about when I was in college as a sophomore. And Tom Brady, when he was going through the process, everybody thought he was going to go back to California with the 49ers. Everybody thought he was going to go to a team that had somewhat already a playoff field.
Right.
But he chose the team that hadn't been to the playoffs 12 years.
Right.
But he looked at that roster. He looked at the coach, Bruce Arians. Then he looked at that young talent. Then I'm going to go back when I was a sophomore in college. I think he was a junior. And I'm going to go back to this band, Cameo. Lead singer Larry Blackman. Remember that song they had called Cameosis?
Yes, yes.
So Tom Brady started looking over at Tampa Bay. He had a memory lapse. He went back in time in 2007.
Right.
When he had all them studs and they went 15-0. When he had Randy Moss, 98 receptions.
That's right.
1,400 yards, 23, 25 touchdowns. I can't remember.
Yep.
He had that speech out of California, Dante Starworth. He had Wes Welker.
Yes, he
had
did.
Lawrence Maloney. In that season, the GOAT went for 50 touchdowns, I believe 8 INTs, and 4,800 yards. And remember, up to that time in his career, everybody was saying, what would he be like if he even had talent like that?
Right.
Well, he looked at Tampa, Bruce Arians, probably one of the most good-looking 68-year-old coaches in the league, rocking that bald head with that nice gray goatee. Then he looked at that receiving core.
Yes.
Mike Evans, who's probably been the best receiver in the game, that we overlooked 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
That's right.
Then the young man out of Penn State, Chris Godwin. Then they drafted that young man out of Minnesota, Tyler Johnson, who put 204 on War Eagle Auburn in the Outback Bowl. Then he saw LaShawn McCoy coming over. Then he got the guy from my home state, the 615. You didn't say too much about him. You tried to get love to LaShawn McCoy, but you need to get love to Keyshawn Vaughn. 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons in the SEC.
Yeah.
The best conference in all of college football. And Tom Brady looking at that, and he said, Cameo. You know how they used to do it back then, Larry Blackman?
Yes, sir.
He said, man, I'm coming to heaven. Now, that's the caveat. We talking about the offense. Then he looks on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
What? Number 1 defense against the rush last year.
That's right.
Giving up only 73 yards per game.
That's right.
Then he got Mr. Sue from Nebraska. That big Samoan, Vita Vea. Jason Pierre-Paul, who came back, only played 10 games last year, came back from a broken neck and had almost 10 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
But then Tom Brady, the GOAT, looked at the linebacker position. They didn't want to pay my man Shaquille Barrett.
Right.
In free agency last year. Only 2 teams looked at him, Tampa Bay and Cincinnati. What did he do? 19 sacks last year.
That's right.
Franchise tag. Now everybody say he can play. We all know about your boy from Florida, Levante David. Been a big-time linebacker. 122 tackles last year. But Tom Brady looked at that guy you just said ran that 4.4 that played middle linebacker. Out of the state of Louisiana. Who that nation? The team that just won the national championship. Who's
That's
a player? Devin White.
Devin White. That's right.
Now he started, I believe he had tonsillitis at the beginning of the year. He had got sick. But boy, when he cranked it up, 91 tackles last year.
Yeah, he did.
4 forced fumbles, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And to go looking at that defense like, man, this might be better than the team I was on ever in New England. Any team.
Any team. Right.
Then he goes to the defensive backfield. You brought him up. War Eagle. University today. Carlton Davis and Jamal Dean. They're in their 3rd year. They starting to play like you played the position. What we say, lock down.
Wow. That's right. Batman and Rock.
Happy about. They got a good safety, Mike Evans, who played decent last year from University of Kentucky. But I like what you just said. Out of all this, what I just mentioned, I like Antonio Winfield Jr. Man, what I like about him, not only his football exploits on the field, 3-time academic All-American. So he got the smarts.
Right.
But this is what I like. Only played 2 years in Minnesota, but I think 88 career tackles. But he can return kicks. He can play in the box.
That's right.
He can blitz. And he's just like his father. And we know how his father was at the Ohio State, by way of the Buffalo Bills, by way of the Minnesota Vikings. Antonio Winfield was a player.
Yes.
So this is a team that when I look at all other teams, all other conferences, we've been talking about Atlanta, we've been talking about Kansas City, we've been talking about Frisco, but man, the GOAT in Tampa, with this type of talent, to me, this is the best team he's ever had, balance-wise. He got some super players, man. Sue, Barrett, White, War Eagle, Dean Davis. Offensively, the young man from A&M, Mike Evans, Chris Guatman, and they're young. They're young. LaShawn McCoy might be the oldest.
Right.
This is a team that's going to be dangerous. And you know what? I was reading online last night. Everybody was questioning the GOAT's arm strength, right? Don't do that, because they said yesterday in practice, he was dropping out 60-yard dimes on the money. Can I say it again? On the money. So he motivated.
Yes, sir.
And all I can say is this. I've been saying the Falcons have probably got a chance to win the NFC South. I've been talking about the Saints. We know they're a talented football team, but y'all better start paying attention what they got over there in Tampa Bay, because we might have the first team that's going to play the Super Bowl in their own backyard. And you got to love the GOAT. He's down there in Tampa, beautiful Florida, the beaches. And, man, if Tampa Bay gets to the Super Bowl, if we have a Super Bowl in wherever, February, March, all eyes in the world are going to be on Tampa and your beautiful state, Brother Butler.
Absolutely.
So that being said, I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what they're doing. To me, they are the team to beat in the NFC South. So, before we leave today, kudos to Tom Brady. Kudos, Brother Butler.
Absolutely.
Signal. You hear that? It's my girl. That's the GOAT. Give it up, Brother Butler. Oh, yeah.
Coming out, bro.
That's Tom Brady. If you like the video please comment and share. We are 100 Yards of Football. Join me as the legend, the very talented Bobby Butler. I'm Vincent Turner, and for I always go, love to the 24th largest city in America, home of Stack Records. Memphis, Tennessee, the 901 to all my beautiful people. And this goes to somebody else I heard on another sports show. He said Memphis is one of the 5 worst corrupted cities in America. That's all right, because now I see. Hit it again, Brother Butler. One more time. That means somebody watching us. Have a blessed day. Thank you for watching 100 Yards of Football.